arm to the mound. The lefty, Ben Cleaver. He is the 15th best ERA in SEC play only.
Yeah, Ben Cleaver, 6'3", has been consistent. He's pitched him into the 6th inning his last 6 starts. He's got 2 11 strikeout games. That's because he's got that nasty 12-6 curveball. He gets a whiff rate of about 42%. He can manipulate a little bit with more of a slider action. Throws the changeup about 10% of the time. The fastball's not overpowering. High 80s fastball, which he uses 60% of the time, but he's accurate.
Neither team has really been an offensive juggernaut in this series. It's been timely hitting for both programs. Oklahoma certainly has helped Kentucky with all the issues with the hit batters and the walks issued last game. Easton Carmichael, though, he's been on a tear, 4 for 9. We'll see him in the 3-hole tonight. Leading off is Jason Walk, electric as any player in the SEC. Looks at strike 1. He's led off the first 2 games of this series with a rip knock to right field. Switch hitter, so batting from the right side of this one. As OU has had to reshuffle the lineup a little bit for a couple of reasons. Facing a lefty for the first time on the bump to start a game. As Jason Walk swings through that. And Sam Christensen has been nursing a shoulder issue. It flared up in BP, so he was a late scratch to the lineup. And the Sooners have shaken things up. Jason Walk fighting that one off, and it will stay at 1-2. What impresses you about Walk?
Well, he can run. He led off the game yesterday with the base hit, and he just makes things happen early. And, of course, we all know if you get on base with nobody out as a leadoff hitter, it makes all the difference. Of course, he gets burnt right there. Good sequence by Ben Cleaver. He sped him up, and his thought process with the second pitch inside got the swing and miss on the curveball. Now he's making Walk sit back and wait on the off speed and then burns him with the fastball. We told you his fastball is accurate. Ben Cleaver can really go, and his out pitch is that curveball, but nice start.
A little throw around there from Rafael Peltier, his battery mate for this game. Brings up Trey Gamble. First pitch swinging, fouled off to the left side. The junior from Alpine, Utah. Transfer from Salt Lake City Community College. And Skip Johnson has done a tremendous job in this new era of the transfer portal and NIL, still staying with those JUCO roots. He was a legendary JUCO head coach before moving on to the D1 ranks. So 2 here from Ben Cleaver, trying to make it back-to-back. This one is going to be popped up. Luke Lawrence going back, he calls for it. And 2 quick outs there for Ben Cleaver.
And Oklahoma really has to get Trey Gamble going and Jackson Willits, who we'll see in the 4 spot. Trey Gamble only 5 for his last 27, and that's been the issue with Oklahoma lately. The offense just hasn't really produced.
It's going to bring up Easton Carmichael. He has produced as consistent as any player in the SEC. Entered the series with a .330 batting average in conference play, which was the best on the team and 15th best in the SEC. First pitch in there for a strike. Cleaver starting ahead. Junior from Prosper, Texas. OU also does a fantastic job in the state of Texas. Skip Johnson with deep roots in the Lone Star State. That runs in, and it's 1-1.
There's another show on the fastball, middle in, the cutter from Ben Cleaver. And again, even if you miss as a hitter, you start thinking, oh, I got to get the barrel of that ball. And if you try to think that way, then all the off-speed works for Ben Cleaver, which he's trying to set up.
That's chop foul. Well, Mike Rooney had the call for Kentucky last week in our buddy against Mississippi State. And he made the statement that Ben Cleaver is a Friday arm.
Well, I think mainly because of his consistency. That's what I was thinking. You know, he's pitched in the 6th inning, last 6 starts. That's somebody you want on the first night of a 3-game series. Save your bullpen.
He's locked in, waiting for Carmichael to step back in the box. He delivers, breaking ball, and that's fouled off to the right side.
So you can imagine how difficult it is as a hitter. You got to hit 90 inside with the cut coming in even more on your hands. But then you also got to protect against that curveball that's real slow and deliberate. And so as a hitter, you basically got to guess one of the 2. And if you guess wrong, you're out.
The 1-2 delivery. Cleaver started the stroll to the dugout. Get a little Gatorade. He thought he had the call.
Well, David Savage is not giving him that inside corner. We have an angle with the camera, but wow, was that close. I mean, Peltier didn't even move his glove.
How quickly into a game can you decide as a team what we are getting and not getting in terms of the umpire zone?
Skip Bertman used to call it the inevitable two. That's because the pitcher's nervous. He's a little anxious. We don't know what the zone is yet. The umpire's still settling in, and inevitably you give up 2 runs. And that was part of that whole process. But he has thrown some really nice inside pitches, fastballs to right-hand hitters.
Take something off this to the other side of the plate. 2 strikeouts for Ben Cleaver. That's how you get it started as Kentucky looking for the sweep against OU. Kyson Witherspoon got the start in game number 1 for OU. His twin brother Malachi getting the start here in game 3. He was a closer for the Sooners last season. He's got electric stuff that's been on display as a Sunday starter this year.
Yeah, the fastball can pop up to 98 miles an hour. He's got a slurve, more of a combination of the 12-6 and the slider. He uses 30% of the time. Like Cleaver, that bender's real. 45% whiff rate for Malachi Witherspoon. He's pitched really well 3 of his last 5 starts. He's averaged 6 innings, only the 1 earned run in those 3 good starts.
He's got to face a Kentucky lineup that is equal parts productive and frustrating if you are the opposing team, because every way you can produce offense, you will see in a game from the Wildcats. Ryan Schwartz has been banging it as well. He was a home run shy of the cycle yesterday, came up for a final at bat, got walked, and we talked to him after the game and said, hey, were you thinking about the home run in that last at bat? And he admitted, yes, he was thinking about it a little bit.
Had a kid that almost hit for the cycle. We had a slash bunt. We had regular sacrifice bunts. Ground balls to the right side, move them over. Some damage from the Kentucky offense, so they did a lot yesterday.
We just need the Baltimore chop in there, and then I think we'd say we've hit every way you can produce offense. The leadoff man is Tyler Bell, freshman who was a second-round pick, highest selection in last year's draft that elected to go to college. So Bell has massive upside. The 11-game hit streak came to an end yesterday, but still was able to reach via the hit by pitch. So he has reached safely in all but 1 game of his Kentucky career, 46 of 47. Scott Mudler will do the receiving for Malachi Witherspoon. Carmichael, the DH for OU. First pitch to Bell outside. Witherspoon, when you talk to the OU coaches, he's got the same type of stuff as his brother Kyson does. The biggest issue is he struggles with control, whereas Kyson has that more dialed in. Hit well to center field. Jason Walk, and a classic 2-high moment for Tyler Bell.
Yeah, but when Malachi's good, he's good. And he looks identical, no pun intended, to his twin brother Kyson out on the mound. And he's been really good lately. Had a rough start early in the season, about the first half of the season, but he's really picked it up lately. And again, that's something OU needs in a big way, a third starter in this rotation.
For the record, Witherspoon is Malachi in that family that's the older of the twin brothers by just a few minutes. So I'm sure he uses that, hang over his brother Kyson's head. It's got to be a little sibling rivalry there. First pitch swinging, and it's past Jackson Willits. A 1-out single for Luke Lawrence. Just a solid offensive threat in that 2-hole.
And that's what happens when you struggle with your command. You know that as a pitcher, he's going to use his fastball, especially when he throws 98 miles an hour. And so that can give you a little bit of an edge as a hitter. First pitch fastball, Luke Lawrence gets it, rips it the other way for a base hit.
Third base hit for Lawrence this series. And there's one man on for the banger, Cole Hage. He's only got 1 hit against OU, but it was a home run. So the way that Kentucky Proud Park plays, really tough to send one out up the middle. Your best shot is the corners and right field. That's where all the home run activity has been.
Well, the wind's blowing left to right in this ballpark today as well. So any ball up in the air to the right side is going to get out.
And they're barely getting out in this park. We've had 3 home runs, and they are wall scrapers.
Which tells you they wouldn't be out in most ballparks. But this ballpark plays left to right for sure.
Malachi Witherspoon starts ahead after that foul ball, 0-1. Lawrence is off and running. 2 of the most feared teams on the bases in college baseball, as there are plenty of green lights for the Wildcats and Sooners.
60 stolen bases within the conference for Kentucky. That's by far the best number.
111 overall, including non-conference. That's 21st best nationally. Check on Lawrence. 4 for 4 in stolen bases in this series. That was against Easton Carmichael, who is one of the best in the conference in terms of throwing out runners. We got Scott Mudler behind the dish, who typically catches for Malachi Witherspoon. 0-2 for Hage. Lawrence is off, popped up right side. Drew Dickerson getting his first start of the series. Late charge to it, is able to make the catch, and Lawrence retreats to first.
We tried a couple times with the hit and run, couldn't work. And not every ball gets out of right field.
Yeah.
He popped it up to short right. Christensen able to make the play for the second out, but Kentucky's going to move. They're going to make it a track meet. They're going to do everything they can. You know, like I said, slash yesterday, bunting, hit and runs, stolen bases. And we talked about the hit by pitch, also first in the conference, 78 within that 26-game schedule. And I like to use the stats within the conference because we think, this is the best conference in college baseball. So if you're doing it in the SEC, then it's pretty special.
Well, you mentioned the hit by pitches. McCoy has worn 2 of them and has the bruises to show against OU. Lawrence is off, swinging. Will this get down? A lot of speed, laying out, and losing his glove, not making the catch, is Walk, and that will allow Lawrence to score. And in safely into second is James McCoy. He kicks the door down and gets the Wildcats on the board.
Walk broke laterally right before he actually came in to try to make this dive, and that probably cost him. The ball was actually in his glove when it got detached from his hand and then rolls out. So it begs the question, if the ball stays in the glove and your hand's outside of the glove, is that a catch?
Ooh.
I've seen 10,000 baseball games. And
Got to dig deep into the rule book there, huh?
yeah. If it stayed, which it didn't, it rolls out of his glove. But nice effort by Walk, just wasn't able to make the play.
Absolutely. It's going to bring up Patrick Herrera back in the lineup after dealing with a groin issue. One of the team leaders, fan favorites as well. Malachi Witherspoon cannot get that outside edge at 89, so it's 1-0. Outfield defense has been a little suspect through the series for Oklahoma. Had a misplay in right field where Christensen checked up. Ball bounced over his head, led to extra bases. Jason Walk was also stuck in no man's land on that Schwartz triple yesterday. And that was one of those plays that I would say Walk typically makes because he has that kind of speed. But that awkward angle with the turf eating up the glove. Good to see the wrist okay after that one. Aggressive lead, some dance moves from McCoy. And this is, I described it as productive and frustrating. They do a lot of little things to get inside your head.
There's no advantage to getting to third base with 2 outs. I mean, clearly an error or a pass ball, which doesn't happen a whole lot. So with 2 outs, I wouldn't be overly worried about, McCoy still in the bag. It's definitely not worth the risk. But back to the play, to me, it's a lot like if the ball's over your head and you throw your glove at it and hit the ball and it rolls, comes down and you catch it. Yeah. Clearly that's not a catch, right? So I'm sure the same rule applies. Like if you do what Walk just did and your glove detaches from your hand, ball stays in it, it's not a catch. Looks good, though.
Yeah, he looks good out there. Young man can cover some ground. Herrera, Kyle Branch will make it at the edge of the outfield grass and make the play. But it's Kentucky once again taking a lead off the bat of James McCoy. 1-0 Wildcats after 1. Between the Kentucky dugout and the lefty Ben Cleaver. They got that straightened out. Now it's time for Jackson Willits a shortstop to give it a go. First pitch swinging, as that has been a common theme of Cleaver filling up the zone, especially early in counts. Willis, the sophomore, 9 home runs on the season, just below 300 on the year. That's way inside, and it's 1-1.
He's definitely trying to establish that fastball in, especially the right-handed hitters, and I love it because, again, as a hitter, if you get sped up in your mind, then for Ben Cleaver, it sets up his curveball, which is his swing and miss pitch. Again, about 45% swing and miss on that.
Absolutely, and it works. Strikeout number 3 through 4 batters for Ben Cleaver.
So what you got to know is that when he throws that fastball in, he's coming back with that curveball. That's just a setup pitch. If he gets the call, great, but even if it's a ball inside, he's trying to make you think that he's coming back in there. And as a hitter, if you think that way, you're in trouble. So you have to think in sequence with Ben Cleaver and what he's trying to do.
So pretty big gap between fastball velo and the curveball velo, as this is fouled out of play by Scott Mudler. Well, given the look is Caius Gargett, now out of play. What do you look for when it comes to that differential between the velo of those two pitches?
Well, the first thing is the educated guess process I just said. You know, I mean, you got to know what he's doing. He's not tripling up inside. He probably won't even double up inside. So the next pitch in sequence is that curveball. He doesn't drop the change on you too often, so you have 2 pitches to think through. And then, of course, if he does throw the curveball and you swing and miss, he's coming back with it. If you foul it off and you look like you're on time with it, the next pitch is the fastball in. So you build an at-bat that way.
Mudler to left field. Hage with a late slide and makes the play. 2 down.
5 up, 5 down for Ben Cleaver has been really good. And again, he could be, you know, Kentucky likes to use their guys that could be aces in their third slot on Sundays. You know, they had Mason Moore last year. In the last few years, that was great. You know, it gives them solidity, you know, on a split series, let's say. And for Ben Cleaver, he's just keeps getting better, and he's had some big games this year.
Moving through the OU lineup efficiently, now 22 pitches. This is Kyle Branch. And that deception, the speed, pulling the string on that curve, confounding these OU hitters. And that's ripped. First base knock for the Sooners. Now the numbers don't show it, but OU has actually been finding barrels throughout this series. They have hit balls hard consistently.
Yeah, they didn't strike out a whole lot yesterday. Scored the 5 runs. Probably had, I don't know, 6 strikeouts maybe out of the, 27 outs, but hit the ball over the ballpark, didn't have much to show for it, and that's what you go through, both as an offense and as a team, and it averages out. That's why they call it a batting average, and so, you just stay with it. That's what this game is.
Only hitting .224 in this series. Kentucky just at .232 in a game that has swung a way of offense in college baseball as of late. Here's Drew Dickerson, big-time freshman prospect for OU. One of the biggest signees that they've had in years out of the state of Missouri. He is an imposing figure in the batter's box. And when he finds barrel, the ball will go.
Number 2 shortstop out of Missouri. So that's typically what you see at these high-level college programs. They take the shortstop off the high school team, and they put him around the infield and the outfield. Of course, right now, Dickerson.
Does he go back to it? Cleaver speeds it up, and Dickerson fights it off. That's typically what you find in high school baseball, regardless of the next position guys may play. If it's the best athlete on the team, they're typically playing shortstop. Here's the 0-2. That's out. Peltier gives a look to Branch at first. It's an OU team that has great plate discipline, 19% chase rate in terms of swinging at pitches out of the strike zone, 17th best in all of college baseball. And that's something that we will hear over and over. Skip Johnson, the ability to separate strikes from balls. It's real for OU, not just a line. Swinging through it is Dickerson, and Cleaver dealing. Allowed that single, but it's now 4 strikeouts, 2 in each frame for the Slim Reaper, Ben Cleaver. The lefty with the blow by. Trying to become the 11th set of Twins to make it to the big leagues. Long road to go there. Just focusing on the here and now. Beautiful Sunday, Kentucky Proud Park, and trying to salvage a win in this series against the Wildcats.
Did we just photocopy one picture and put it on the other?
I guess
Eerily
they mean
similar.
identical when they say it, right?
Yeah.
It's Carson Hansen, 1 for 4 in the series. Now, coming out of high school, they were anticipating going separate ways for college baseball. Well, it ended up getting a great offer from Northwest Florida State College, played together there. And then when Skip Johnson and the OU staff started recruiting them, liked them both, wanted them both, and here they are, continuing their college career together, taking it to Norman.
Well, how could you not? High velocity fastballs, working on the off speed. Skip Johnson, one of the best pitching coaches in the country, even though he's the head coach at OU, and I think they would tell you they've learned a ton just this year, but they've got a lot of raw talent.
3-1. Malachi Witherspoon, 12th round pick out of high school. So it's been well thought of for a while now in this game. 3-1 swinging, popped up. Jason Walk going back. Walk slips, and it will fall. Into second is Hansen. Motoring to third is Carson Hansen. And outfield issues plaguing the OU Sooners.
What just happened? I mean, what a gift. The wind's not necessarily blowing in, it's blowing left to right. That ball was hit straight up in the air. Walk goes back for it and then just slips.
Yeah.
And can't recover, ball drops, then he can't get the handle on it. That's one of the more odd triples that you'll see, and Kentucky extends their lead in triples within the conference. That's 10 for them. They've hit, what, 2 or 3 this series?
That's number 4 this series.
4, yeah.
And it's now 8 triples in the last 6 games.
Strong.
So in Starkville, they were wearing out that little nook on the right side of the field, getting some ricochets. Here's Ryan Schwartz, who's got one of those triples to his credit. And it was, again, to center field, and one of those balls that was misplayed. Now, Jason Walk has massive upside. He's an electric athlete. But one of the things that Skip Johnson has told us about him is he is so athletic. When he goes 100%, he's on the verge every time with a play like that of being out of control. Schwartz trying to do the job here, get that man 90 feet away across the plate. He's down 0-2. Three for 3 a day ago. Missed the cycle by a home run. Oh, over his head. Hansen will come across, and it's 2-0 Kentucky. Control has been problematic the last 2 games for the Sooners pitching staff.
11 free passes yesterday for Oklahoma staff alone, just in that game. And then now another gift for the second run for the Cats. Just, I mean, trying to throw it middle in and just overthrows and almost hits him in the head. Gifts the Wildcats their second run.
That's up, and it's 2-2. How does that affect a defense when you have issues like that on the bump?
First thing is how fast the pitcher works. The faster they work, the more, you're into that particular at bat. And And then consistency and accuracy obviously matter, but you're all over the place. You start to get on your heels, and I've always said, like with defense, at this level, but especially at the higher levels too, you can make every play. The reason infielders make errors is because your mind starts to wander a little bit, and it'll wander if you have a long inning, if you start walking guys, if the pitcher's slow to the plate. All these things factor in.
Kentucky, as tough as there is in college baseball with 2 strikes, they were outstanding in that category yesterday. And how about that? From 0-2, fighting all the way back to draw the walk, and that wild pitch to allow Hansen to score, and Kentucky is cooking. Skip Johnson, one of the best in the business, 8 seasons at Oklahoma, took them to the championship series, ended up losing back in 2022, but a high point for OU baseball. And they will be back, projected 2 seed, coming in to this series against Kentucky. They have been in the conversation to host. Losing this series, especially a sweep, would certainly hurt that opportunity. First pitch strike to Caius Gargett.
Yeah, the 13-win mark within the conference usually gets you into the field of 64. The 16-win mark for me usually gets you a host. And Oklahoma now at 13 with 4 games to play, including today. They could host in Norman, but they'd have to get going.
Gargett showing bunt early, pulling it back. A little late slash. Willis to second base, and OU turns 2.
Big hop over to Willis at third base. Nice transfer over to Branch, who cleans the double play. And that's the second time in 2 days we've seen the Cats offense try to act like they're bunting and do a slash, which the idea is to keep it low on the ground, but that ball hopped up right to Willis. Easy double play.
Rafael Peltier gets the nod behind the dish for Kentucky, his first at-bat of the series. And back to a first pitch strike for Malachi Witherspoon, who's probably thinking it should be a 0-0 game at this point. Up the middle, and that's off Malachi. And Peltier reaches. Single off the OU pitcher.
Peltier only making his 18th start of the year. That's a nice job right up the middle. And Malachi tries to get out of the way, hits his shoe, and man, that hurts as a hitter when you see that ball go right to third base and then you get thrown out at first, but get a base hit out of it from the 9 spot.
Butler came out to check on Malachi Witherspoon and immediately told him, go back, I'm good, I'm good. Home plate umpire David Savage gave him that one warm-up pitch just to make sure everything is straight, good to go. And Malachi says, let's keep rolling. Top of the lineup here, Tyler Bell, now 1 for 9 in the series, has a triple to his credit. Really, to this point, we think it should have been a home run. Hit the top of the fence out in right center, but it looked like it was over the yellow stripe. And this is going to be routine for Kyle Branch, and Oklahoma is able to get out of it, but they add another off the triple for Carson Hansen, and then the wild pitch. 2-0 Wildcats lead. Tennessee. Well, Todd, I know you're big in pickleball. How are you in rowing these days? Have you given your try?
We couldn't tell you anything about rowing.
But you can tell me about great defense as Gargett makes a play at third.
Remember Gargett? Maybe he's played well. Maybe their third or fourth option at third base after the injuries.
Yep.
Herrera's been out. Yeah, lost some guys in the fall, but he's done a great job over there. Only 2 errors since he's been over there.
And has given them a physical presence. We saw that collision between him and Kyson Witherspoon on a run down the first baseline in game number 1. Good to see that nothing flared from there. That was part of a momentum-changing sequence for Kentucky.
Well, he was the 10-year-old national deadlift champion, so he's got that going for him.
Start him early. And to everybody that says, don't lift early because it will stunt your growth, well, Caius Gargett is doing just fine. But Kentucky has just had to really find ways to get creative with personnel this season. They've played 5 different third basemen for a team that was really a new-look team from almost top to bottom. They only returned a catcher and a right fielder from last year's team. Everybody else was new, including a new rotation, top 2 guys out of the bullpen. So some of those guys, and McCoy and Kuntz, are dudes that you would typically see at first base. But when you got nobody else, you got to play the hand you dealt.
Yeah, Kentucky made Omaha for the first time in program history. Their opening lineup against A&M, I believe it was, first game. They only have 2 guys on the field from that opening lineup in the College World Series last year. They lost all 3 of their weekend guys, like you mentioned, some bullpen pieces. And we live in a day and age of transfer portal, so you're able to just repower your team. I don't know if rebuild is even a phrase anymore, but they have lost a ton from last year's Omaha team.
So Nick Mingione has been the 2-time SEC National Coach of the Year last season and season number 1 here in Lexington. And this is not one of those seasons that will garner that award, but you need to tip the cap for the job that he has done with this program, considering everything they lost coming into the year and what they've lost throughout the course of the year.
That really is an incredible stat. I mean, he's the 2-time national Coach of the Year. The first year, 2017, and then last year, 2024. Out of 300 Division I college programs, he's won it twice in the last 8 years. I mean, people love playing for Nick Mingione. I mean, he makes selfish high school kids into unselfish players over there. We see his teams year in, year out. They just seem to be having fun. And although the records aren't always great, he just does a fantastic job here in Lexington.
And there's a brand now with Kentucky baseball. And when was the last time that you could say that before Coach Mingione got here? You know what you're going to get. They play a relentless, hectic style offensively, a fantastic defensive team with a lot of just big athletic bodies across the field. You know what you're going to get with this program.
And he built this the way, by design. Like every game we've been here, they've had kids on the field before the game. These are the future Wildcats, or at least future fans. They've gone outside the proximity of this ballpark, handed out free season tickets. They've done all these things to get people to the ballpark. Good crowd today, but you're right. Nick Mingione has built this program into what it is. They're getting 6,000, 7,000 people here, which that was unheard of 20 years ago.
And has done a great job with the different mechanisms for his team to buy in to the core philosophies that he preaches, whether it is the 2-strike approach or how you can be a great teammate whenever you're not in the lineup. He knows what he's dealing with in terms of kids in this day and age and how you need to reach them.
Yeah, he brought Hudson Brown over to us, the freshman. He said, what do I tell you guys? Be a good teammate. And if you're not playing, you need to be a good teammate by handing gloves. And, like with Devin Burks, they do like a pit crew with the catching gear. Like Devin doesn't lift a finger, and they got 4 or 5 guys like putting his catching gear on before he goes out there. And they do all these little things to make it fun, within the dugout. And he's created this atmosphere that you see today.
And 2 teams that play the game the way it should be played. OU and Kentucky both play hard, find different ways to beat you. I don't want to say it's a throwback, but for a baseball purist, it's just refreshing to see 2 teams that really respect the game. And here's that offering. Did he go? Jason Walk? No. Full count here after the walk to the number 9 hitter. Back to the top with Jason Walk. Ben Cleaver has been in absolute control. Masterful performance through 2 innings.
And that's a good point on the other side with Skip Johnson. You start talking to him, man. He told me a story earlier today about being on the phone with Pete Rose. He's a scratch bowler. We showed yesterday, he's got 300 games, perfect games, and he relays that to his pitchers.
Strikeout number 5 for Ben Cleaver.
How to deal with pressure, how to, relax your hand and your arm a little bit. All this mental stuff as Skip Johnson does. Here's a elevated fastball above the waist on a 3-2 count. So you know a fastball's coming, and you try to time it up. But when it's up closer to your eyes with some velocity behind it, it is tough to catch up to.
Cleaver is dealing. Here's Trey Gamble. First pitch breaker in there for strike one. Yeah, Skip likes to talk a lot about how it starts with the way you wear your uniform. And when you see Oklahoma, when they're just arriving at the field, taking batting practice, those uniforms are hung nicely from the top rail of the dugout. Not a ton of flash with this OU team, and they play the game hard, play it the right way. They got dudes like Trey Gamble. Very disciplined hitter. Runner is off. The throw down from Peltier. Not in time. And the third stolen base of the series for Oklahoma. Still no runners thrown out on the bases so far in 3 games.
Well, he took off first move from the left-hander, which means if he throws out at first, he's out. But the minute Cleaver makes a move, he takes off.
Lace to the right side. Out of play.
And Peltier's thrown some guys out, 5 for 16 before that one. So he's been really good behind the plate, but they stole that one on Cleaver.
Stolen base number 16 for Dawson Willis. Ties him for the team lead with Jason Walk. That's out. And it's 2-2. OU averaging just over 6.5 runs per game in SEC play. It's actually 4th best in the conference. Good glove by McCoy. He has been nasty over there at first base all series long, making plays like that.
And, you know, it's great to have all 16 teams in, because if you don't make your conference tournament, your season's basically over at that point. So at least it gives the guys that may have not made it otherwise a chance.
Yeah.
You know, even Missouri and teams like that.
Well, Missouri had that win against Texas A&M on Friday.
So if they roll it out and they win the SEC tournament, they get an automatic bid. So that's my point, is like it's unusual. You know, it's not likely, but, you know, it gives them a shot.
And that's a shot from Luke Lawrence, but right to Kyle Branch. So did you just call Missouri winning the SEC tournament? Is that what I heard?
I think the first step would have been, did you call them beating Texas A&M in a series after walking into College Station and having not won a game all year?
Yeah, that's right. Took
They
the
won
series.
2 in a row. How about that? Missouri's hot.
Arkansas still your team at this point?
Yeah, I still like Arkansas. Texas making a slow recovery after getting swept at Fayetteville last weekend. But I just think when you start looking at the complete package, Arkansas's that team.
So you love going to Hoover. You'll be there. What do you appreciate most about the SEC baseball tournament?
You got 4 games a day for the first 2 days. So if it is nice weather, I mean, you're there from 9 a.m. to midnight, whatever the case may be. There's seats available most of the day. Grab some lunch, sit out in the sun, and watch baseball. The competition is as good as it gets. You know, and to roll through a single elimination tournament like that to win it all, man.
There's Cole Hage, his second base knock of the series, first of the game. Some of the storylines we're tracking. LSU's looking for the sweep against Arkansas. That game will follow us here on SEC Network. Vandy is tied the series against Tennessee. Both of those teams with 15 wins in SEC play, so tied up there. And Mizzou looking for the sweep at Texas A&M.
You know what's great about that is you saw them laughing and dancing and jumping, and you have no reason to do that based on the year. Carrick Jackson, the head coach, who I really like, has just done a great job of keeping that boat above water, you know, and they still have fun. They're not the Bad News Bears. They have some talent. They've been hurt by injury this year, and they've had to just survive all of that.
Hage is off and in. Another stolen base for Kentucky, now 5 for the series.
But Missouri's capable, and we knew that was coming, and A&M just happens to be the recipient of them playing as good as they can play. Another stolen base for Kentucky. That's what, 61-62 on the year within the conference, and they are going to try to make it a track meet if they can, especially on this turf where everything's moving a little faster.
So there is a challenge now. See if they got the tag on the foot of Hage, which would wipe out his 12th stolen base of the season.
Doesn't even look like he tagged him.
So we're looking here at the.
Did he get him on the?
No tag there.
I mean,
I don't think he got him, Todd. Like
he missed the left completely. So if he hit his right.
Ooh, does he get the calf?
Yeah, the right inside. No, he didn't. Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
This is going to be another one of those situations where do they have enough to overturn the call on the field? We didn't think there was enough to overturn the call on the field of the sac fly RBI by OU yesterday. On the SEC Replay Center, yeah, they found enough.
Yeah. Got him again.
So now we have the first caught stealing of the series, and it's Scott Mudler.
Got Mudler back there making only his 20th start. He's also good. Has been great, throwing out runner 6 of 17, now 7 of 18.
So some of that aggressiveness, you'll see this from time to time when you are an aggressive team. It comes back and sometimes bites you, so caught stealing. And we saw the slash play turn into a double play. James McCoy swings through that, but Coach Mingione has built this program on being ultra aggressive and knows you got to live with some of those moments. But the positives far outweigh the negatives that have come along with that for this UK program. James McCoy made that fantastic defensive play over at first base to end the top of the third inning. He's got a double to his credit thus far, driving in the first run of the game. It's been a solid series all around for James McCoy. 2-1 from Malachi Witherspoon.
Valuable player. I mean, hits in the 4th spot for him. Has played third base, played the outfield, now playing first. Has not made an error at first base, or anywhere for that matter, this year. And he can pitch.
And check out how deep Kyle Branch is playing at second base. That's going to be a walk. Second issued by Malachi Witherspoon. Here's Patrick Herrera. He was on an absolute tear before this series. His last game as a starter was April 22nd against Louisville. He went 3 for 3 with a home run and drove in 5. After that, suffered a groin issue. Had only been pinch hitting a few times leading up to this series, where he has been in the starting 9 as a DH for all 3 games. Had a .465 OBP in SEC play coming into this series. The 6th best in the conference. So he will find a way to get on. And it's 0-2. So now you'll see Herrera tap his chest, point to the dugout, say, "I got you," to his Kentucky teammates, giving himself up in this situation. Do whatever he needs to do to help his team here with 2 strikes.
Well, that's just the verbal acknowledgement to the dugout. Jake Gautreaux at Mississippi State brought it from when he played at Tulane over to Mississippi State. They called it the 2-strike fight. And internally, as you know, we as baseball players 20, 30 years ago, you have that. Like, you really lock down with 2 strikes and don't want to strike out. But they're just giving a verbal, and there's a lot of that with Kentucky, a lot of verbal recognition of certain things that lets the team know that you're getting after it.
Witherspoon had Ryan Schwartz down 0-2 an inning ago. Schwartz came all the way back to draw the walk, and this is a missile to center field. It's down. McCoy was breaking on the play. He will be held up at third base, but an absolute rocket off the bat of Patrick Herrera. The 2K approach, perfect.
That's 3 base runners in a row for Kentucky. Cole Hayes got blown up at second base on the steal, so with 2 outs and nobody on, McCoy with the walk. Now Patrick Herrera rips it right back up the middle. Nick Mingione's going to do everything he can that's in that runner with 2 outs because he knows the odds of the next guy getting base hit are less likely than a bad throw, but just couldn't send him right there. And so now Kentucky with first and third and 2 outs.
And Skip Johnson will make the stroll to the mound. No activity in the OU bullpen at this point, but Skip Johnson handles all the pitching duties along with being the head coach, so he will take all the mound visits, which you don't see too often. And typically these situations with Skip Johnson, it's more a mental nugget than anything physical.
Well, you just don't want it to spiral out of control, and when things speed up is when you get in trouble. So that's a settle down meeting. In addition to probably giving him a little scouting report on Carson Hansen, who hit the triple his last time up. Now, it wasn't a bullet, straight up in the air, misplayed in center field, but just give him a little bit on how to get Hansen out.
Hansen hitting .270 on the year with 5 home runs. Had a solid series at Mississippi State on the road, 3-9 with a triple. Outside and down, ball 1. Now, if you fall asleep on Kentucky, they will take advantage of it. This is a Wildcats team that practices stealing home and has done so 3 different times this season. So something wild on a first and third with 2 outs is not out of the question here.
And you generally wait till the hitter's in trouble. So a 1-2-0-2, they may do a deal where the first base runner takes off and stops between the bags, try to steal a run. That usually happens when the hitter's in trouble, but you're right. I mean, you can just about expect anything from Nick Mingione, this Kentucky offense with runners at third base.
Out at 96, and it's 2-1. Wildcats have 2 runs on the board, really courtesy of 2 misplays in the outfield. Trying to get more, and it's 2-2.
So now you're looking for the trick play. Now you're looking for a way to steal a run.
Checking the wristband, seeing what is on here. Herrera on first, McCoy on third. Carson Hansen, the batter. Nothing on here. Hansen swings through it. And the strikeout from Malachi Witherspoon. Coming up next, we'll talk to the head coach of the Wildcat, Nick Mingione.
Start on Friday nights for you, but he's in the 3 spot. What have you seen from him?
I always, whenever I talk about Ben, I always start from the inside out, and just uber competitive, like just super competitive. And he's throwing 4 pitches for a strike. He's obviously throwing his fastball. He got the cutter going, the changeup, the curveball. I guess is that 5? I guess my math's off, but yeah, a ton of different pitches for a strike.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. This is a great park. Your fan base is unbelievable. Have a heck of a team as well.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I've always heard that some sports psychologists have told me that guys get their toughness from their mom. So to all the tough moms out there, happy Mother's Day.
That is awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
And a shout out to my mom, Karen Galindo, on this Mother's Day. Love you, Mom. Easton Carmichael on first base, courtesy of that hit by pitch, ripping a page from the Kentucky playbook. Jackson Willits now working with a huge right side opening as we got 3 Wildcats on the left side of second base. Pitch is nasty.
They have kept Jackson Willis in the 3-4 spot, rightfully so. He's a talented hitter, but 2 for his last 31. So it kind of seems like as he goes, the offense goes, and just now 32. He struck out last at bat. So 2 for his last 32, down to 294, and he's going to have to get hot, and that might help.
With that shift, this could do it, and Willits. That's how you break out of a slump, Todd. It's the little things like that. It looks great in the box score.
100%. That's a base hit for Jackson Willits. Grown man hit that ball. But in a perfect spot, and you got to have some things go your way, and it just hasn't for Jackson Willits up to this point. But now Oklahoma's got something going with nobody out here at the top of the 4th.
Can we get the exit velo on that?
Wasn't high. Double digits, probably. Not triple.
Here's Scott Mudler. And Mudler has had himself a solid series of the solo home run. Yesterday, he's driven in 3 in the series against these Wildcats. Looks at strike number 1.
You know, the other thing about hitting, too, is you're right. It doesn't matter how hard you hit it. Just the base hit makes you feel better about yourself. And, it changes everything.
And this will get up and over the head of Luke Lawrence. OU is going to wave. Carmichael, the throw to third base, and the Sooners are on the board. 2-1, Kentucky leads.
Clutch base hit for Scott Mudler. Just a line drive over the second baseman's head. That's something like you're kind of used to the last 2 games watching Oklahoma. That goes right to second. He catches it, flips it to second for the double play. But now they get a little bit of good fortune, gets over his head, and gets the first run in for Oklahoma. Still nobody out. Runners at the corners.
And here's the conversation now on the mound. Kentucky pitching coach Dan Rozelle has done a phenomenal job with this Wildcat staff. We'll have the conversation.
Well, they knew he would. 6th season as the Kentucky pitching coach, came over from East Carolina, and all those great pitching staffs that he had over there. And they're consistently making regionals.
Striking dudes out. 3 of the top 4 seasons with the most strikeouts in program history are since Rozelle has come here to Lexington. A lot of records being set by this program since Bengione took over in 2017. Last season to Omaha for the first time, and in position to make it 3 straight trips to the postseason.
And now we talked about Ben Cleaver, like when they were off on the, he's cutting the fastball into the right-handers and then dropping the curveball, and they just didn't seem like they were thinking along with him. Now Oklahoma's offense starting to think along with him. They're staying back on the curveballs. He's not hitting that inside corner with the fastball, so they're able to stay back and recognize the fastball as well.
Kyle Branch will try to give Boomer Sooner the lead or tie the game, and he does. Sooners will plate the run. Willits scores, and that ball was laced by Kyle Branch. 2-2.
4 straight base runners for Oklahoma, 3 hits in a row, and Kyle Branch ambushes the first fastball from Ben Cleaver. And that might be something he has to do too, start dropping that curveball for strike 1, because otherwise this Oklahoma offense is just going to tee off on that first pitch fastball.
It's funny how rallies can start. The hit by pitch to open this one up. Easton Carmichael wore one. The shift was on. Willits hit a little bleeder on the right side that just found enough room. And then OU finds back-to-back barrels from Mudler and Branch. And it's time for the freshman, Drew Dickerson, will try to make an impact here and give the Sooners the lead. Dickerson shows bunt, pulls it back off the breaking ball, and it's 1-1.
Back-to-back freshman, Kyle Branch, now Drew Dickerson in this lineup.
Well, you made a great point. OU has been finding ways to put the ball in play, hitting it hard, but now finally, as they try the back pick, finding some vacancy in the outfield.
If you're going to bunt, go ahead and show early. A good bunt is hardly defendable unless the pitcher jumps off. Right now, the third base has to stay back to respect the runner at second, so the pitcher has to cover the third base side. If you just square early and get yourself set up and put it down the third base line, it's going to be difficult for Ben Cleaver to run all the way over there and make a throw to first base. But a lot of times as bunters, we try to trick everybody and be too quick, and then you're just not set up and you don't see the ball clearly.
So OU using the offensive timeout. Hitting coach Reggie Willits, father of Jackson, having a conversation there with the freshman Drew Dickerson. That's up top. And it's 2-2. How about that? Doesn't get the call. Look good from up here. And it's a full count. Here comes pitch 62 from Ben Cleaver. Strike him out. One down. Well, number 7, Arkansas, and third-ranked LSU finish up their 3-game series today. Coverage begins at 4 Eastern right here on the SEC Network. So that will follow us here from Lexington, LSU. I don't want to say people are sleeping on LSU, but there's a lot of talk of other teams in the SEC, in my opinion, before LSU.
Yeah, and probably rightfully so. Texas beat LSU 2 out of 3 this year. Wow, beat down in Baton Rouge last week or yesterday, 13-3 over Arkansas. But any given day, you start talking about the top teams in the SEC. Anybody can beat anybody. Georgia's right in there as well. I think we're going to have 5 top 8 national seeds, 7 regional hosts, top 16. But those top 5 are really good.
It's just been a revolving door. The number 1 spot in the top 25 rankings. Someone gets to be number 1, and then they lose the conference series, and either the team that beat them moves up or someone else. More slick fielding by McCoy over at first base. 2 down. Runners move up.
That's when you're feeling it. Make the play on the glove and just flip it up to yourself. Make the play.
So here's the projected 16.
Yeah, so you got Texas, Arkansas, LSU, Georgia, and Auburn as potential top 8s. Vanderbilt's fighting in there. I think they're around 5 RPI. Rankings around 10 or 11. So, again, remember, it's a committee that puts these guys in there after they look at their RPI and their rankings. So there's a lot going on in determining who's going to get in.
The chopper. Gargett looks at the runner, fires back to first. That's a tough play because Willis can motor down the line. OU gets 2. Kentucky gets out of that jam, and we're tied up at 2. On ESPN, one of the best scenes in all of sports. 8 teams divided into 2 pools. Double elimination format. The winner of each of those 2 pools meets in the championship series. Best 2 out of 3 to determine who leaves Omaha as the national champs, like the Tennessee Volunteers did a year ago. And here is Ryan Schwartz showing bunt, pulling it back. Last at bat was brilliant. It's down 0-2 and was able to then see 4 straight balls and end up on first base with the free pass. The only thing he has not done this season, the home run. That runs in, and that is a hit by pitch. And so Kentucky adds to its record total in this category. No Kentucky team has had more hit by pitches than this one.
We talked a lot about this yesterday. They do lean or start out over the plate a little bit, but the main thing with them is, and he did try to actually get out of the way, but most of the times you'll see Kentucky just not move. Now, you're not allowed to go into the pitch and have it hit you. But with Kentucky, you can imagine a ball coming at you, your natural reaction is to flinch or get out of the way. And they practice staying in the box, not moving. And that's why they've led the league in hit by pitches the last 3 years.
That's number 134 on the season. Had 4 of those a day ago. Gargett shows bunt. Now that's something too. I gotta believe they're having some laughs in the locker room with bruises and seam marks and different things like that.
The times I got hit, I don't remember laughing. It was I didn't like it at all, and I wanted to hit. That was one of the deals, but I mean, again, you're trying to get out of the way.
Gargett, another near collision with the Witherspoon. In game number 1, it was the twin brother Kyson where there really was a collision, and Kyson went on his backside. In game 3, it's with Malachi. And that first collision with Kyson, there was nothing that crossed the line there. You had Gargett trying to make a move. Same in this situation here. This is on Friday. Same deal. Bunt down the first base line. There's a smackdown.
Same deal, but it shows that he didn't really intend. Now, there's some words being said right there, too. But it shows on that movement right there that it wasn't intentional, because he easily could have done the similar thing there, but he tried to avoid the tag. And, yeah, that was a little rough on Friday night.
Both teams got animated, but did a fabulous job along with the ump crew of just not letting it escalate more than what it needed to. Here's Peltier hitting in the 9 spot. Talking about impact with Malachi Witherspoon. Last time up, he had a single off the ankle of Malachi. Gargett is not a dude, though, that I want to be in a collision with down the line.
There's a few of them. Cole Hage. Yeah, you don't want to see him in a dark alley when he's mad.
Because all these guys for Kentucky, they're big dudes that don't look like they should be able to run, and they can all run.
Kind of generally the case if you get on the field again with all these college baseball teams now. I don't remember them being this big. They look like a football team, when you get out there. And, again, wow. Kentucky has some big dudes, but so does Oklahoma.
Schwartz on second after the hit by pitch. Big cut there by Peltier. And it's a 2-2 count.
They bat their chest, but then they also point. And like you said, I got you. So I guess that's the verbal and the, the acknowledgement that they're going to fight with 2 strikes.
And down swinging is Peltier. 2 strikeouts now for Malachi Witherspoon.
Not much of a fight there, but it was a great pitch by Malachi up in the zone. And that is always a great 2-strike pitch, because as a hitter, that ball looks so good up in your eyes, but when it's got that kind of speed, and it is tough to catch up to. And you can get locked in on swinging at that pitch too, because if you start telling yourself as a hitter, I'm not going to swing at the pitch above the belt, that's the one you end up getting frozen up and taking. So you have to be aggressive, and that's just a nice pitch because it's really hard to put in play.
Comes the freshman Tyler Bell. He's got 1 hit in the series, a triple in game 1. And is a man that can do some damage coming into the series. 16 extra base hits in SEC play. That was 5th best in the conference and 2 off the lead. A double machine, 11 of those in SEC play. Down 0-1. Oh, this ball is crushed to right field. Flip it and take the slow jog around the bases. Tyler Bell. A review will not overturn that one.
Ball's flying to right field, but he didn't need any help right here. That's just a middle-in fastball that Bell was sitting all over. Look at the launch angle on this swing, the balance, and he knew it right away. 2-run home run for the Cats, up 4-2.
And the bat flip as well to cap it. That is a tank. An absolute tank by Tyler Bell that thought he had a home run in game 1. It was overturned, turned into a triple. That is home run number 8 in his freshman season. Second-round pick that decided that he did not get the offer that he wanted to get as a second-round selection and would bet on himself and take his talents here to Lexington. Here's Luke Lawrence.
You're seeing a lot more of that, too. You know, the better ballparks, I would say, as a whole, better coaching. You know, in college baseball, you get taken care of. You're not playing 7 days a week. You're playing 4 days a week. The trainers, the education that you get when you come to college, there's just so many advantages, especially if you're blessed enough to get an opportunity to play for one of these SEC schools. But you're seeing more and more of these high-level players come to college.
And let's be real with it. The NIL era has changed a lot of that dynamic. So before, I would imagine a big part of the decision was, am I going to give up the money that I may never see again? You come to college now, especially in the SEC, there will be opportunities when you smoke baseballs like that. Luke Lawrence, get all of it, young man. Luke Lawrence with his 4th home run of his first season at UK.
Similar pitch, kind of tailing at the end, the fastball, and he just gets the head out on that one and drills it to right field. Back-to-back home runs for the Cats, showing that pop.
So now all 5 home runs in this series to the right side. Most of them just barely getting out, but Bell and Lawrence have put a little into those 2. Here's Hage. Lifts it out of play.
And this guy's certainly capable.
Oh, yeah. He's got one himself. Just getting back, getting healthy. Slammed in the wall a couple of times in Starkville. As Mike Rooney, our boy, pointed out, probably needed to check on the wall before you checked on Hage.
And that's been the issue with Malachi right now. He can't land his off speed. So now you sit all over the fastball. It's predictable, and that's why he's getting beat up. He's missing with that curveball. And another hit by pitch in this series.
135 now on the season. 6 since the start of yesterday's game. And it's unraveling here for Malachi Witherspoon in the 4th. There is no activity in the OU bullpen. Looking to get some length out of this from Malachi Witherspoon. And here is James McCoy. First pitch hack, and he's down 0-1.
We talked about them using James McCoy all over the infield, some outfield.
Yeah.
But on the mound, he's got an 0.6 in 14 innings. A lot of midweek action, but man, talk about some tools.
Hage faked like he was going to take second. That is tough to do, though, in an era of specialization. To be talented enough in the SEC of all conferences to be able to get in the box, do some damage, get on the mound as well. Takes a special talent to do that in any degree. 0-2.
Yeah, it becomes mainly mental, too. I mean, I had a kid in high school, Garrett Williams, that was like that. You know, talented on the mound, 95 from the left side, but also was our best hitter. But when he pitched, he was 300 points difference in his average. You know, you can imagine a scenario where you come up at the plate, you strike out in a big spot, and then you got to go out on the mound. Just the mental aspect of it is the most difficult thing, I think, to being a two-way player. We saw Jack Caglione struggle at times on the mound with that same deal.
Delay steal. Hage off the bag, back on, and he's in safely. Another way that Kentucky can beat you.
Well, that ball took Willits up the line, but that's also why, as infielders, we were taught to keep the tag on the runner, because something like this can happen, especially on turf. I mean, look how early he slid, and he just keeps going. And again, Willits was kind of out of position, but it was a race back to the bag and barely got back.
That's what we're talking about, the big boys that can run. And meanwhile, a great fight at the plate by Ryan Schwartz. Excuse me, by James McCoy. So Hage was caught stealing the first time he tried that. After a review, not here. Full count delivery. McCoy fighting on.
That foul ball tells you he's thinking about an off-speed pitch on a 3-2. First base is open, but James McCoy, does he have one home run on the year?
McCoy's got one. Yep.
So, why wouldn't you look dead red fastball there and, try to get the barrel out? If he drops a curveball on you, you just do the best you can.
McCoy.
But see, Malachi hasn't been able to land that. We talked about that a few hitters earlier, and so you pretty much know what you're getting on a full count, percentage-wise, and he's fouled 2 off to the left side.
This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat from Malachi Witherspoon to James McCoy, hitting in the 4 spot for the Kentucky Wildcats, looking for the series sweep. Kentucky has not swept in the SEC this season. And the fight continues. Pitch number 70 in the game and number 9 against McCoy. Coming up right here.
I just think you got to sell out to the fastball here. I mean, he's got 3 in a row. And when you're late on your swing, that tells the pitching coach, the pitcher, that I can't throw him anything off speed. I got to keep coming with the heat.
Still fighting. It's wearing out that left side.
Yeah, he's been late on all 4 swings, so it'd be crazy to drop a change or a curve, which Malachi has proven he hasn't been consistent with anyway. They're trying to hit that middle in spot.
You approach it differently with first base open if you are Witherspoon?
Usually you would, but, again, I'm looking dead red. He hadn't been proven he can throw his off speed for strikes.
And won't pinpoint that one there. And another fabulous battle. We mentioned the 11 free passes issued by OU pitching yesterday in Game 2. The first 5 all occurred in 2-strike counts.
Yeah, to me that says it's trying too hard to get the swing and miss. And Skip Johnson has said it more than once this weekend already. You can't make the hitter swing and miss. You have to throw to targets. And it feels like on those 1-2 counts where they end up walking guys, they're using the next 3 pitches to try to throw something nasty to get a swing and miss, and you just can't do it that way.
It's been an up and down SEC campaign for Malachi Witherspoon. He's got 8 starts. 4 of them have ended with exactly 1 earned run allowed. 4 of them, though, have allowed at least 5 earned runs. So it really is a dynamic performance or getting nailed. Here's Herrera. And Herrera on the button, walk. We'll play this one. 2 big blows by Bell and Lawrence, adding a couple of more, and Kentucky leads 5-2.
Good catch. That's the whole deal. You just got to keep working on getting better every week.
Skip, great catching up this weekend. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.
Top of the lineup for Oklahoma, Jason Walk. Can you go deeper into what Skip was talking about there with the body language and what he's seeing compared to what you are? This one is grounded to Gargett.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times in baseball, even as a player, but especially as a coach, you want people, human beings to be robots, and you're just not. You've got emotions, you've got certain other things, but also what he's talking about is baseball is this roller coaster ride where everybody's going to struggle and everybody's going to have these little glimmers of success. Now, it is a failure sport. Like, if you're 35% in college baseball, you're a superstar at the plate. And so he's just talking about whether you got these highs or these lows, you don't ever change. You just stay the same because they're coming both ways. And if you understand the game, you know that. And I think a lot of negative emotion can only hurt you, and he's trying to preach to these 18-year-old kids that, probably wasn't told that in high school, and the best players on their high school team, by the way, that, the way you carry yourself matters. Scouts are watching what you do on the field, how you carry yourself, and how you react, especially to failure.
This was a massive series, still is, trying to salvage a win out of it for OU because they really are playing for a chance to be a regional host, one of the top 16, as Gamble rolls this to McCoy. McCoy with a flip on time to Cleaver. This certainly puts a damper on that because projected 2 seed by D1 Baseball coming into this and right on the cusp of being a 1 seed. But now you for sure drop the series, maybe a sweep, and then you host Texas next weekend. You can get it back with a great performance against the Longhorns, but there was a lot on the line for OU here in Lexington.
Yeah, 13 wins coming in. And, again, I think they need to get to that 16-win mark. It's not looking great today. Of course, they've got plenty of time to come back in this one. But if they can get to that 16-win mark, 3 more wins in their next 4 games, including this one, I think they would host in Norman. Outside of that, they're a 2 seed somewhere else. But they're a scary 2 seed if they go somewhere else.
That curveball from Ben Cleaver has been a scary sight for OU hitters today. And this one is popped up to right field. Ryan Schwartz fighting the sun and puts the mitt on it. A 7-pitch inning for Ben Cleaver. That allows you to go deeper in games.
4 out. Remember, Ole Miss 2022 was supposedly the last 4 in after being the first 4 out projected, and they win the whole thing. So that ends up being crazy how that plays out.
James Hitt out of the bullpen for OU, making his 23rd appearance, a transfer from Texas Tech.
2 of the next 4 hitters for Kentucky are left-handed. James Hitt, left-handed specialist, 209 against. Right-handers hit him a lot better. Predominantly fastball cutters to left-handers, about 85%, and then the rest is just the slider away from the barrel.
Dylan Crooks is the best arm out of the bullpen for OU. See him at the end of games, but Sooners have not been in position to run him out. Carson Hansen leading off. Ripped to left field. Tracking and making the catch is Trey Gamble. Tough one on the run out left.
Especially how he ran. Like when you start backpedaling and spinning and you get in what they call that tornado, it is tough to keep your eyes on the baseball. So that play was a lot more difficult than it looked. Nice job out in left field for the first out.
All right, what's the most deceivingly difficult defensive play out there that casual fans at home say, that's not that difficult, I could do that?
The only way I know how to answer that is I had played infield my entire life. I get thrown out in Windy City, Chicago, in Wrigley Field in left field, and a left-hander up at the plate hits the spinner out to left field. And to this day, I don't know how I catched it, and I was definitely in that tornado. Never saw it, ends up in my glove, but that was much more difficult of a play than I made it look. I mean, much easier.
Now, when you made the catch, did you act cool, like I got this, or was there a smile or a smirk?
No,
afterwards?
everybody was laughing, so it must have looked pretty silly. And it was Craig Counsell that hit the ball. And you got the wind and you got the spin of the baseball, and all of a sudden, you know, those outfield spots that seem fairly simple, or first base that feels, you know, they're not that easy. I played first base in the big leagues too, man, and you got Nomar Garciaparra whipping, you know, nasty fastballs with sink on it, and, you know, some of these shortstops that fired over, you all of a sudden become really conscious about catching the baseball.
Schwartz is retired for the first time this series. He had reached base safely all 6 times before that punch out. Yeah, I don't think people give enough credit to elite corner outfielders defensively and how difficult that is with ball slicing and fading away from you.
Yeah, and I think that's the overall answer is just if the ball goes in the air and it's got spin on it and you tie some wind into it, you have got to keep your feet moving. And some people say, you know, stay on your toes. You don't want your eyes to be bouncing around. Eduardo Perez will tell you to stick your tongue out so it keeps your eyes still. But those would be the plays that seem easy, but they're just not.
That's what I've heard from some outfield guys. Run with your mouth open. And
I'd end up biting my tongue off doing that.
It would just lead to me tripping over myself, whether I had the tongue out, mouth closed, whatever. Here's Caius Gargett. Down 0-2. James hit, trying to make it a 1-2-3. And this at-bat will continue. So it's been a really two-game run of responses from Kentucky. When OU thinks they've got a little momentum, like 2 runs in the top of the first yesterday, Kentucky comes back with a 4 spot. 2 runs in the top of the 4th in this game. Kentucky comes back with a 3 spot, including 2 missile home runs. Game 1 was decided on the 4-run 3rd inning against Kyson Witherspoon, so some confidence for Kentucky in that clubhouse, knowing that they had defeated one of the best pitchers in college baseball. And they have not let down since. Gargett's been dealing with a forearm injury. This time of year, lots of bumps, bruises, ailments. And everybody's working through. And down on strikes, back-to-back for James hit and a 1-2-3 inning for the Sooner out of the bullpen. Weiss.
Pride of Sulphur High School, Jake Brown. Yeah, I mean, he's got a hot streak, power streak over the last few weeks. Went deep against Tennessee as well. And Jake's in a little bit of a platoon situation, right and left, but he can bash those right-handers for sure as a left-handed hitter.
Well, Ben Cleaver is frustrating this OU lineup. Hold the Sooners to 4 hits. That off-speed has been deadly. 2 runs allowed back in the 4th. Now the 1-2-3 inning in the 5th. And at 76 pitches, depending on how he gets through this inning, could see him extending a little bit.
Well, his longest is 7 1/3. And we talked about in the open, 6 straight starts he's got into the 6th inning. So that length and depth that you get from Ben Cleaver is extremely valuable. But they use him on the 3rd game of the weekends.
He's got Willits down 1-2. Willits was able to come up with his first knock of the game. Last time up in the 4th, Kentucky was playing this shift, hit one off the knob, and it just squirted enough to give him like that opportunity to get to first. That's just heads up. If you're gonna give me that gap, I'm gonna take it. They play the shift. Willits hits it where they ain't.
Second hit in a row where Jackson Willits has just found a spot. Not hitting it extremely hard, but again, I'm sure during that 2 for 31 streak, he hit some balls right on the screws that got caught. So now he's getting paid back a little bit. Second base hit in a row that found a hole for Jackson Willits.
Here's Scott Mudler. Mudler laced one up the middle his last time up to drive in a run.
Not a fan of the shift, though, and for that reason right there.
Like ever, or in that?
Well, you just don't know what the hitter's thinking. So if I'm thinking off speed and I really got to sit back on Ben Cleaver's big curveball and he throws a fastball middle in, I am going to get jammed and I'm going to hit it the other way, and that's exactly what happened. And you have to pitch to the shift, and that's the whole deal. And pitch by pitch, a hitter's mind changes. And I know the spray charts say that Jackson Willits hits the ground balls the left side, but when it gets burnt, I just think about the psyche of the pitcher, because he didn't call it. The coaches call the shifts, you know. And, you know, for Ben Cleaver, he turns around and there's nobody in a spot. You know, it's got to make him a little aggravated.
And it's not like pitchers hit their spot every time.
Correct, and that's assuming that's exactly right. That's assuming they're going to hit a spot, and the shift gets burnt just as often as it works. Just the eye test will tell you that.
And there for a strike, it's 2-1. So Cleaver, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. That latter stat's probably the most important. Entered this series with 19 walks in SEC play. Only 5 players have issued more. But the control has been on point. That one's fouled back towards us. Apparently a nice catch made.
You know, what's great about Ben Cleaver, though, is he's doing all this with a high 80s fastball. So in a day and age when we think you got to throw 96, 97 to get people out, he's just a pitcher, man. The pitchability's elite. Throwing the fastballs and locating with a little cut to left-handers and into the right-handers. Mixing in that off speed when the hitter's looking for something different.
6'3", 185. That's why they call him the Slim Reaper. Doesn't get the call there. And the count is full. Leads his Kentucky staff in innings pitched, strikeouts, and batting average against. Just a 176 batting average against coming into the series.
Love that nickname, by the way.
Slim Reaper.
Whoever came up with that, fantastic. Arkansas State has a player named Cross Jumper. But other than that, I mean, you've heard some good names.
Is that like his real name?
That's his real name, yeah.
Cross Jumper.
Cross Jumper.
It's like Crossy Roads getting an
Yeah.
endorsement deal with that game. What was your best nickname?
Oh, gosh. Probably, I couldn't say it on air. There's a lot of negative.
Well, you can.
I don't know.
I don't know if you want to.
You kind of go with the one syllable, stuff. But I don't know. Have they called you something that you're aware of?
No, I mean, well, not that I'm aware of. No, I got a nickname when I was at ESPNU and first started with ESPN. Like, we give out the best nicknames. And after about 2 months, they're like, we came up with this, LG. Like, that's my initials.
That's right.
Doesn't count.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Let's do better. Cleaver barking a little bit, slamming the chest. 7 strikeouts for the Slim Reaper.
Another example of an elevated fastball that works. Right above the letters at 89, 90 miles an hour in lefty-on-lefty matchup. Scott Mudler had a base hit his last time up, just not able to catch up.
Kyle Branch steps in. 2 singles to his name. And stinging the ball. Doesn't miss much. Has the 5th best contact rate in SEC play coming into this series at just under 87%, meaning when he swings, most of the time he's finding a piece of the bat. Barrel control from this young man from Lucas, Texas, Lovejoy High School. Now to go further on that contact rate, on pitches in the zone, he's at 95%.
Yeah, I was talking to Skip Johnson earlier, and he said a lot of the one stat that a lot of scouts are looking at now is your chase rate. And Kyle Branch doesn't chase a whole lot. He's been on base his last 4 times in this series, 2 from the end of last night's game, and 2 base hits in this one so far.
Another well-hit ball. Dying into the glove of Hansen in center field. All 3 balls put in play by Kyle Branch right there, right up the middle.
Well, the last ball he hit right over second base to score the 2 runs back in the 4th inning. We talked about, when you hear baseball's a game of inches, it seems like Oklahoma through this series has just not had a whole lot of luck. And there's an example of that. Ball hit well right to the center fielder. If that's in the gap, it's trouble, and Oklahoma's back in this game. Instead, right to the center fielder, Hansen.
Dickerson also dealing with the shift. Luke Lawrence dancing just on the first base side of second. Dickerson 0 for 2. A couple of strikeouts. Massive upside for this freshman out of Missouri. Big hack. Get your money's worth there. Drew Dickerson getting a shot because Sam Christensen tweaked his shoulder in batting practice before the start of the game. Causing Skip Johnson to shuffle the lineup late. And he's down 0-2. Excuse me, 1-2. Four left on base for OU, 6 for Kentucky. Long hold in the delivery, and that is placed into left field. And Drew Dickerson has his first hit of this game.
Yeah, after back-to-back strikeouts for Drew Dickerson, gets a hanging curveball and just rips it in that gap between third and short. And with 2 outs, Oklahoma's got a little something going here in the 6th.
Peltier comes out to talk to Ben Cleaver. He's had 94 pitches. Season high for him is 105 at Texas A&M. Cole Henschel's getting hot, along with Simon Gregerson. The bullpen has been fantastic for these Wildcats in this series. Gregerson came on to close it out in game number 1. Got a huge strikeout to end the game with 2 runners on, holding on to a 1-run lead. And Ethan Walker, electric out of the pen yesterday. 3 innings pitched to earn his first save. Had 5 strikeouts in those 3 innings. Henschel is a pit bull. 5'9", 210. Mason Hamlin, opportunity with 2 on. First pitch strike, 88 from Cleaver.
Best pitch you can throw is a first pitch to a hitter, because now you start thinking you got to speed everything up. And he has been trying to dot that corner all game long. Ben Cleaver has established the inside part of the plate, and I think that's why he's been so effective today.
Hit well, out of play. Well, Cleaver making the most of the opportunity. We've mentioned the turnover that Kentucky had from the team that went to Omaha for the first time a season ago. Lost their entire rotation, top 2 bullpen arms. And Cleaver went from a guy that pitched 6 innings last season exclusively out of the pen to being arguably top starter for Kentucky, even though he's pitching in the Sunday role.
So on a 1-2 count, he's pinned the fastball inside as a hitter. You're like, I got to get the barrel out to that fastball in if he throws it. But then if he drops that curveball on me, I got to sit back far enough. So this is a tough spot for a hitter to be in.
Pitch number 98. Not in there. Fans wanted it.
And that's just a take because you're looking curveball, you know, and he buzzes that fastball middle in.
That just ties you up if you're sitting curve. 2-2. Pitch 99. Same spot.
Yeah,
Not getting that call.
And he's not taking it because he thinks it's a few inches high or a few inches in. It's just you're looking curveball, and so when you see something different, it just freezes you up. And those are 2 great pitches by Ben Cleaver, just barely missed.
7 strikeouts, 1 walk for Cleaver. How about 8 strikeouts? Let him know, Ben Cleaver. This is your house today. OU in this game 3. Sooners had some issues in center field early. Let the Kentucky Wildcats get 2 quick runs in the first 2 frames. They've allowed 2 home runs. Bell and Lawrence delivering those for the Wildcats. Cleaver really has been the story on the ball.
Man, he's been good. Only scattered the 6 hits. The 1 walk's the difference because Oklahoma has really given out a lot of gifts to the Kentucky offense during this course. So For Kentucky, and Ben Cleaver only limited to 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. He's been real dominant with that fastball, especially above the belt, mixing in that curveball. Gets a high whiff rate. It's been really good.
16 free passes issued by OU pitching in the past 2 games. That's a number that is a recipe for disaster.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different stats you can look at as to why teams struggle within the SEC. But if you look at how many walks a team gives up, Missouri being the one that gives up the most, it is a direct relation to their record. I mean, just giving up free passes in this league gets you beat.
Turn and burn, why don't you, Rafael Peltier? He was trying to set a distance record there, just got a little too out front.
So when we talk about pitch sequence, now he gets the head out that far in front of the ball. The next pitch is the curveball, you know, and that as a hitter, now you got to adjust pitch by pitch. Okay, now I was way out in front of that. Now they're going to throw me something soft.
Here it comes from James Hitt. Goes out. Saying staying away from that inside part of the plate. And it's 1-1. Peltier with his first action of the series. Devin Burke starting the first 2 games at catcher for the Wildcats. And it's 2-2 to Peltier. There's Burks.
Yeah, the heart and soul of this club.
Yeah.
Been around a long time.
Call him the happiest man in college baseball. Preseason first team All-SEC. He's a Kentucky baseball icon. The guy behind the dish, the team that went to Omaha a year ago. Just one of 2 returning starters in the starting defense and lineup for the Wildcats.
Yeah, so they bring Peltier in from Kansas State just to give him a little bit of a break, but he's a workhorse for sure behind the plate for the Cats.
It's from Quebec, too. You always need at least 1 Canadian on the roster, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe not in Louisiana.
Yeah, we don't see a whole lot of that down there. Played in Canada a lot, AAA. Played in Vancouver, played in Edmonton.
How was that?
That was great. The hardest part was Vancouver's so nice,
yeah.
but we didn't have a chance to get out and really see that. Ballpark wasn't great, and the van that we all 16 of us jumped in wasn't great.
The van.
So you'd complain about it, and then of course that's where I learned where they say if you don't like it, play better.
Absolutely. Peltier down on strikes. You said van, right?
A van.
Wow. Well, tonight the Rally Cab crew will break down the baseball weekend and the SEC softball tournament. We'll also look ahead at the NCAA softball regionals. So the final week of the baseball regular season. Coverage begins at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app.
David DeLucci, the new city councilman of the new St. George Parish outside of Baton Rouge. So if you ever see Luch around, he wants to be referred to as your honorable.
How should I refer to you?
You can use the same thing. I haven't been elected to anything yet, but
anything yet. So you're leaving that possibility open.
Always a possibility.
You got my vote, my friend.
Thank you.
Tyler Bell, 1 for 3. Last time up, crushed the home run. Switch hitter from the right side here. Had his 11-game hitting streak snapped yesterday, but reached with a hit by pitch. So he's been on base safely in 20 straight, 47 to 48 career games. Just getting started on what he can be. How about this swing?
Switch hitting shortstop, freshman Tyler Bell, and he's put a charge into a few this weekend, but that one caught the wind, and not that he needed it. That ball was smoked out to right field. Second round pick out of high school, 66th overall by the Rays, decided to come to campus here in Lexington, and man, has he had a great first year.
Still not 100% either. He's been dealing with a little bit of an ankle issue as he goes down on strikes there Well, yeah, that is already one of the top players in the SEC.
We got some great shortstops, man.
I mean,
LeBron from
stupid how good it is.
Yeah, LeBron from Alabama, Kahiva Aloy from Arkansas, Stephen Milam at LSU made the transfer from second base to short.
You got a legacy shortstop at Texas A&M, and Caden Kent. His pops wasn't too bad at second base in the bigs.
He made the move over from second base also, yeah.
So James Hitt dealing right now. 4 straight strikeouts out of the pen. One of the better back-end guys in the SEC.
Only got the 26 innings and 22 appearances, so he doesn't last usually that long, but he is accurate, only the 8 walks. But they're probably asking him to eat up some more innings than he's used to in this game.
0-1 to Luke Lawrence. He also has a home run. Another missile to right. That followed the one that we saw from Tyler Bell. 4 hits in the series for Luke Lawrence. Trying to fight here down 0-2. Lifted to center. Walk, long run. Makes the catch, and James Hitt doing the job out of the pit. Kentucky leads at the end of 6, 5-2.
Art's really consistent out of that third spot.
Now we get to see Simon Gregerson, second appearance in this series. Saw him close out the game, number 1 win.
Yeah, slinger, 6'3", 185. You could call him the Slim Reaper too. Up to 94 on a fastball, drops the slider on you. Change is really good, 48% whiff rate there. A little high walk total, 16 and 25, but they trusted him on Friday night to get it done, and he did, and now he's back out here for his second appearance of the weekend.
So Gregerson went an inning. No hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, including the game ender on Friday to take game 1 against OU. The bullpen has been outstanding. Dawson Willis, first pitch swinging, fouls it. Number 9 hitter for OU. Still looking for his first knock of the series. He's 0 for 8. Has reached via a walk in the 3rd inning. Swiped the base as well. OU trying to avoid getting swept for the 2nd time in SEC play. LSU was the only other program to be able to take 3 from Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, that was back in week 4. They've won 5 series, this being the 9th series of the 10-week schedule in the SEC.
Upstairs to make it 2-2. Kentucky looking for its 11th win of the season against a top 25 opponent. RPI at 33 coming into this game. And for a team that's on the bubble coming into the series, among the last 4 in and the D1 baseball projections, this is a big resume booster, especially getting the sweep.
Yeah, I mean, they had 10 wins coming this weekend. If they got swept or only won 1 game, that's 11 going into the last weekend. And we keep talking about the magic number of 13 wins. That would have put a lot of pressure on this Kentucky group next weekend against Vanderbilt. But the fact that they've won 2 in a row now, get to relax a little bit. If they win today, I think that puts them in the field.
Trying to make it 3 straight trips to the regionals. as Nick Mingione has rebuilt this Kentucky program and established them as a power in the SEC. There's a strikeout from Gregerson, got Willis looking. The inaugural SEC Rowing Championship is tomorrow at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the SEC Network. The women's teams from Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Texas will compete for the title at Melton Lake in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Back to the top of the lineup, and Jason Walk. 2 hits on the series, 1 to lead off game 1, the second to lead off game 2. Both of them while hitting left-handed. He is a switch hitter. So saw him hitting from the right side against Cleaver. Now switches it up against the righty Simon Gregerson.
We've got 5 switch hitters in these lineups for both sides.
That's
Thought it was a dying talent, but apparently not.
I would say that's a pretty big number. Eye-catching in this day and age.
Yeah. It's hard to do. You're spending half the time in the cage on both sides, you know.
And Walk has his 3rd hit. All singles in this series against Kentucky. Now this is when it gets fun. With Jason Walk on the bases. He is a pest.
Now stepping to the plate, left fielder number 20, Trey Gamble.
Yeah,
Everything.
16 stolen bases on the year, and it is interesting because you're down by 3. You don't want to get blown up at second base on trying to steal the bags. You really got to be careful. I still think Oklahoma's playing station to station.
That runs in against Trey Gamble. And it's 1-0.
But Walk is looking in the dugout. See if he gets the green light.
Kentucky thinking along those lines. Gregerson back to McCoy. Top 2 leaders in the SEC. In stolen bases, Kentucky at 113, OU 104. Campbell pops it up. Tyler Bell and Cole Hayes trying to figure this one out. Hayes takes it. And there's 2 down.
Yeah, really didn't give him a whole lot of time to think about whether or not to steal the base. Campbell just pops it straight up to the left side. Had a long way to go for Hayes, but makes the play for the 2nd out.
Easton Carmichael trying to get Jason Walk around. Carmichael, 3rd-team All-American last season. His dad and brother both played at OU. Dad was a catcher just like him. He's in that DH role today, as it typically is a different catcher, and Scott Mudler on Sundays for Malachi Witherspoon.
Oklahoma just needs an explosion somewhere. You know, there hasn't been any lightning for them in the last 3 days here. You know, this is the deal where you hit the ball in the gap or you hit it out of the ballpark, and now we've got a baseball game. But they just have not been able to come up with that big hit.
Carmichael with one of the biggest ones for them. Does have a home run. But you're right, building off that. Big inning. Back-to-back innings with some momentum. It's been fleeting for OU. Team leader in average, hits, home runs, slug, and 52 driven in. Gets that leg kick going and looks at ball 3. It's 3-1.
Well, Walk definitely has Gregerson's attention, and that's what's, you know, factoring into now he's behind in the count. And I don't know if he would go on a 3-1 right here, but it definitely puts you in a spot where Carmichael can pretty much guess what's coming. Just got to get the barrel on the fastball.
And when he does, he can go 25 balls in play at 100+ in SEC play. The 9th most in the conference coming into this series. If exit velocity and the metrics are your thing.
Now it'll pull McCoy off the bag. Run will be going on the pitch.
Full count, 2 outs. Walk is off, and that's outside, so Carmichael draws the walk. His second time on base, was also hit in the 4th. And now this is a big moment because you have one of your top hitters that's starting to get it going in Jackson Willits with the opportunity for a big fly that can tie the game.
Well, and it shows you what distraction will do on the bases. And Gregerson walks Carmichael basically because he was too worried about Jason Walk at first base. So now you got first and second with 2 outs, and this is a perfect spot for Jackson Willits to break out.
Couple of singles to his credit. Both taking advantage of the shift, but with 2 on, not seeing that shift here.
Well, he's just not, and this is part of it too. Like, he's not swinging with a whole lot of confidence. Two at bats ago where he hit the base hit was an oops swing, and it goes to second base where the shift was on, nobody's there. And then the last one kind of a half swing as well. And then you see this, that foul ball. And as a hitter, a lot of times you start doubting yourself. It's a big deal. And, you know, when you're going through slumps, whether you've hit the ball hard or not, it's very difficult to break out of.
To left field. Hage secures it. 2 left on. Big moment there for Simon Gregerson getting out of that. Kentucky still leads by 3.
You know, when I get to Omaha, the greatest time of the year for me, because I get to sit down and have conversations with Mike Rooney and Chris Burke, Kyle Peterson, Ben McDonald, those guys about baseball. The lingo, you learn so much within those few weeks. That's squeeze play. So if you want to kind of give an example of that, you watch Runes and Chris Burke go, and, man, you learn so much.
And Big Ben will be on the call coming up next at LSU. Ben McDonald is one of those guys, I can just listen to him talk. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. He talks, and I'm intrigued, and he is the funniest person on the face of the earth, so that helps as well.
That's great. He likes to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lives in Denham Springs, South Louisiana. Hunting. Heard stories about alligators and others. I mean, just crazy, crazy stuff.
He is a classic. He's going to be on that call coming up with Dave Neal from Baton Rouge. Jason Bowden on the mound for OU, facing Cole Hage.
Yeah, big arm. Up to 96, 97 on the fastball. Doesn't use the slider against the left-handers, but he uses it 30% against the right-handers. And right now, Oklahoma just needs strikes.
Hold them at bay and see if they can get something going with their offense. As they try to avoid the sweep at the hands of a Kentucky program who was on the wrong end of the sweep in Starkville last weekend. It's in there for a strike. But despite those struggles last weekend at Mississippi State, all positivity from Coach Mingione, telling us that he loves his team, has so much respect for the way they always fight and have battled through adversity this season. It's a team that is together.
Most appearances out of the staff, out of this pitching staff for Oklahoma. Jason Bowden's, that's his 25th appearance.
Texas to 2-2. A single and a hit by pitch for Haig. Wow, and down on strikes. Well, Saturday right here on SEC Network at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Well, the final 4 hours of the SEC Outdoor Track and Field Championships at the University of Kentucky. All the top runners square off in the finals for individual and team titles. Arkansas Razorbacks are the 4-time defending men's champs. LSU Tigers of the defending women's champs. It should be another great night of track and field. It's going to be right here in Lexington.
I was just going to ask. I just rode by there. I think that's where the old ballpark was here in Lexington, and now it's track and field. And so I played at the old ballpark, so I want to go check it out. That track and field, I was noticing that. Pretty nice.
It's nice, yeah. Kentucky Proud Park opened up in 2019. New home of the Kentucky Wildcats, so one of the newer parks that you'll see in college baseball. And this checks all the boxes. Great sight lines, facilities, amenities, top notch. You got the suites up here as well. Great press box, by the way. This is unbelievable.
Huge.
It is palatial. So tip of the cap
I'll
to
take
everybody
your,
here
I'll
in
take
Kentucky.
your word for that one.
Man.
I have to look that up later, but it is really cool. I was telling Coach Minns and his wife yesterday, coming into the ballpark from that street out in right field, you just see the football stadium, see the baseball field. You know, it's just dramatic when you come into this campus. Really cool.
And they've done a great job with the athletic facilities right next to each other. We can see the soccer field. You got softball close. And beautiful weather here in Lexington.
Yeah, we had a couple of day games the last couple of days. Perfect weather. Just now, probably getting warm in this part of the country, and that's something people don't understand. Like in the South, ball travels more because it gets hot faster in Baton Rouge and Texas and places like that. But up here, man, the ball doesn't travel as well until right about now, this time of the year.
Yeah, the opportunity, though, to get out of the Texas heat, the Louisiana heat for just a while, that is a welcome break because, as you were alluding to, down in those parts, it is already a sauna.
Really, really hot, yeah, and you got to get used to it. It was home for me, so when we come play the Rangers, I like to be out in it, but can't spend a whole lot of time there.
McCoy into right field. James McCoy, the second hit of the afternoon and his fourth hit of the series against these Sooners.
Man, they keep trading off heroes. Yesterday was Ryan Schwartz. Today, James McCoy on base 4 times in a row. The double back in the first, 2 walks, and now a base hit. James McCoy, have a day.
Fantastic defense at first base to go along with that. Bringing up Patrick Carrera with one out here in the bottom of the 7th. Kentucky struck first, getting on the board, with McCoy driving in the opening run of the game with a double in the first. Carson Hansen followed up with a run-scoring triple in the second. OU starting to get things going in the top of the 4th. They played it 2 off the bat of Mudler and Branch. That momentum was short-lived. It's been all Kentucky. Herrera to center field. McCoy checking up at third base. Runners on the corners. Cooking here in Lexington with one out.
Wow, was that a perfected hit and run. Moves the second base Branch out of his position. Gets the fastball up in the zone. Herrera just rips it out to right field. Runner goes, second base covers, and right where he was. Base hit, first and third for the Cats with one out.
Will beat you in every way possible. You saw the back-to-back home runs in the 4th inning. See the stolen bases, the hit by pitches, drawing walks. Going station to station. Some situational bunting. A slash as well. See what they've done. Despite the fact they're only 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position, it's the big 5 of 11 with 2 outs.
So this is something we haven't seen a lot of this weekend, but something Nick Michione likes to use, the offensive timeout. And he was telling us, you get in there and you get player feedback. They don't tell them what to do. They ask them, what do you want to do right here? You got options, safety squeeze, or do you feel comfortable putting this ball in the outfield with 1 out? And you'll get feedback. It's a big moment here. They're only up by 3. It's a good opportunity to get another run.
We see it coordinated with everybody. We saw Mingione even motion to the dugout to get Jackson Jelkin an injured pitcher out because he is now coaching first base. So want to make sure that whatever the play call is relayed. The Jelkin, who's coaching first base here today, make sure everybody's on the same page. It's Skip Johnson on the mound for OU to talk to his defense.
Which is just to be aware, you know,
Yeah.
just be, especially the third baseman plays a big part in all of this. Willis, you know, he has to kind of read everything, but they need to be aware that this Kentucky offense can do just about anything. Send the runner in motion, slash, like we've seen a couple times where you show the bunt and you back it up and swing at it.
So we will have a pinch runner for Kentucky as well. And this is going to be Sean Montoya. So first and third, one out. Carson Hansen at the plate. It's got to be so difficult to prepare for these Kentucky Wildcats because they do everything you possibly can from the offensive perspective. You don't have to prepare for other teams to beat you in an array of ways. This Kentucky team will. So after the offensive timeout, it's just a straight up smash to the right side. One run scores. Montoya booking from first. He's held up at third. And Carson Hansen gets it done. What do you want to do? Well, coach, I want to drive in somebody.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Carson, what do you feel comfortable doing? Well, I'll just hit a base hit to the right side and get the run in. So now they're in the similar spot, first and third with one out, with an extra run in for Ryan Schwartz, who had the big day yesterday. A home run away from the cycle.
He knows it. So once again, a first and third situation. Now it is Ryan Schwartz. Runs in on the hands. Kentucky not afraid to wear it. They've done that twice here today. 135 hit by pitches drawn by Kentucky. It's a new program record. Take a lot of pride in that, as they should. A lot of damage that is done. Oh, and that was close to being the third.
Yeah, you can't take anything for granted against Kentucky, but I would think with a 4-run lead now in the day that Schwartz had yesterday, you go ahead and let him swing the bat. The only thing you want to do as a hitter is get the ball up in the zone. And Bowden usually does throw above the belt, so you just don't want to hit into the double play.
Got jammed there. Dawson Willis calls for it and makes the catch. Now 2 outs.
That was a nice pitch by Bowden, sinking in on the hands of Ryan Schwartz, gets the second out in the infield.
So before that, 3 straight singles. Trying to get something else across here. Add more insurance. And here's Gargett, 0 for 2. Outside for strike 1.
You don't want to leave your 8-9 hanging if you try to do something on the pass, so that's probably why they wouldn't make a move here, especially with a 4-run lead. But Hansen's doing some dancing at first base.
Showing the moves. Staying there. Gargett looked a little tied up. It's 1-1. Big swing, and it's 1-2. Jason Bowden, former Texas A&M Aggie, out of Orange, Texas. So an East Texas kid.
He's gone.
And there's Hansen in, and Bowden didn't even look.
It was all kind of chaos right there.
What?
I didn't know. I thought they may try, hitters behind in the count, so you try something on the bases. But he didn't even hesitate, and that wasn't even to try to steal, run a home. Didn't even give the guy at third base, Montoya, a chance. And he just took off, and, Bowden was locked in at the plate, which is the right thing to do.
Gargett. Oh, what a glove by Willis. He will not make the play. Gargett gets it done. And another run for insurance for the Wildcats. But Willis saved an extra run with that play at third.
Yeah, that was a 2-run single, turned into a 1-run infield single. Willis did all he could do, but wasn't going to be able to throw the runner out. And
We get our top arm out of the bullpen into this series before this thing is over. Here's Peltier hitting in the 9-hole. Showing bunt, pulling it back. I mean, why not bunt with 2 outs? Saw him keep a bunt down against Mississippi State with 2 strikes. Didn't work. Fouled for an out. But it's all in play for these Wildcats. In at 93, and it's 1-1.
Well, same situation. You think initially that Kentucky might try something on the bases, but you get your 9 spot up. You go ahead and clean the lineup up this inning. You don't want to get thrown out on the bases and leave your 9-hole for the next inning.
2-0 to Peltier. Right side, a Branch makes the play. Kentucky adds. They get 2 more on a front, and it's the Wildcats searching for that first SEC sweep of the season, closing in on it, 7-2 lead over OU. The top 10 of the D1 baseball poll, SEC and ACC heavy. Texas, Florida State, LSU, and North Carolina making up the top 4. Arkansas, you'll see them taking on LSU coming up next on SEC Network.
We had 4 SEC teams and 4 ACC teams in College World Series last year. It's starting to play out that same way, as you see right there.
Arkansas looking for some late inning magic, trying to salvage a win. Simon Gregerson came in relief of an electric Ben Cleaver, was able to hold OU at bay. They left 2 on the bases an inning ago. Here's Scott Mudler. 3 hits of the series thus far. Has driven in a run today. Solo home run to right field in game 2. He's down 0-2. Outside, and it's 1-2. And that is a sing-eye hit on the left side. Has found enough. And Mudler takes second base for a lead-off double. OU saying we ain't done yet.
Yeah, Mudler looks like he made that decision when the ball was right over the plate. And probably that emergency swing where you're initially going to take it, but then you think it's going to drop back in the zone. So quick enough swing by Mudler just to keep it in the field of play right down the opposite field line for a leadoff double.
Now to Kyle Branch, who's had a solid series. 4 base knocks. 2 of them coming in this matchup. He's driven in a run here today as well. In there for a strike. That's out, and it's 2-1.
The more they can get Gregerson out there, the better they're going to be, because he's got to gain some confidence. Didn't have a great outing 2 outings ago, but again, closed the door on Friday night. And as you get down the stretch here, you're going to need somebody you depend upon at the end of these games.
There's another knock to the left side. And Kyle Branch has his 3rd base hit of the afternoon. Stay hot, young man.
Well, you see Mudler just taking it easy. We're not trying to do anything crazy right now, station to station for the Sooners. Base hit to left, 1st and 3rd. Let's keep the line moving.
And it looks like we're going to have a pinch hitter as Christian Hoffman will step in for Drew Dickerson. Christian Hoffman out of New Mexico, JC, originally from Albuquerque. Went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in the series against Ole Miss. Made his first career start in that series in Game 2 against the Rebels. Big moment for him. Thought about it, called for a strike. Too high, and it's 2-1. Hoffman is 1 for 7 as a pinch hitter for the Sooners this year. Takes a little off and freezes up Hoffman to make it 2-2. Nobody out here for the Sooners. Down by 5. Trying to avoid the sweep. Down swinging is Hoffman.
Nice little pull the string of Gregerson. Kind of danced around Hoffman a little bit and then just throws that changeup right over the plate. When the arm action is the same as the fastball, it's very difficult to stay back, especially when you've been sitting on the bench like Hoffman has for the last 3 hours. Come out there and have to hit that pitch. That's why they tell these pinch hitters, let's swing at the first pitch you see, because you start waiting around, get to 2 strikes, they're going to throw something you haven't seen in a while.
Time for Mason Hamlin. He gets his crack at this thing. Ball gets away from Peltier. Runner will be gunned down at home. What a play by Rafael Peltier as Simon Gregerson applies the tag. Nothing working for OU.
Well, right when we're talking about you're down by 5, you've got to be careful on the bases. The ball gets away, but it really didn't get that far away. And kind of a lackluster, he actually went back to the bag, Mudler did, before he started to go, and probably thought he was going to make it with no problem. But Peltier jumped all over it. Nice job by Gregerson. And it just wasn't even close.
Really, anytime OU has had momentum in this game, Kentucky has found a way to take it from them quickly. And in many instances, this is a series about OU hurting themselves.
Yeah, and when we've talked to Skip Johnson over the weekend, he's used that word a lot, momentum. And they just, to your point, they just have not been able to take advantage of any moments when it seemed to be going Oklahoma's way.
Had the defensive miscues today and yesterday. Had the free passes issued predominantly yesterday and have not been able to come up with a timely hit so far on this decisive Sunday. 2-2 now for Simon Gregerson. Trying to keep Branch over there at second base. Check swing, did he go? No.
And this is when you start looking at home run totals for teams. Like, you know, if you're Georgia and you've hit 125 home runs, you can change the game late in the momentum in a situation. But Oklahoma and Kentucky, both these teams don't hit a ton of home runs, so they've got to manufacture throughout the game. But like I was saying earlier, there's not going to be any fireworks late in the game because they just don't hit a ton of home runs.
Chopper to the freshman Bell. A quick rip and gets him. OU gets a single and a double, but gunned down trying to take home on a pass ball. Did not work. Still a 5-run lead for UK.
Host a regional. Ole Miss could sneak in there. But we know how valuable it is to host and be a home, you know, the home field advantage within this conference is huge. To be able to host a regional, and of course the top 8s that host Super on the way to Omaha. What an advantage.
Well, it's been this kind of series for OU. They finally get to turn to Dylan Crooks, but it's more out of just needing him to get some run and not go through a series without your top bullpen arm getting in the game. Crooks, a 1.46 ERA. He is one of the best guys on the back end in the SEC.
Yeah, he's got the four-seamer, can manipulate the fastball a little bit with the cut, and then also a little bit of a sink. It's sliders to right-handers, and it's change-ups to left-handers, but he's really good, only the 9 walks. And he's in there now, clearly not a closing save situation, but to get some work, they haven't used him. Hope they could, you know, with an advantage in one of these games, but just hadn't been in that spot.
Tyler Bell made the fantastic play at shortstop. He'll lead off here for the Wildcats. They added 2 insurance runs an inning ago. All-out pressure on the bases with multiple first and third opportunities that OU had to deal with and could not. Big hack there for strike 1. There's one issue, one negative that stands out for Bell's freshman campaign. It's the strikeouts. It's a high number for him. If he can reduce those as his career progresses, I mean, it's a guy that does it all. Second-round pick out of high school, decided to come here to Lexington to start his career.
I saw the pitch sequence there from Dylan Crooks so far. Drops the changeup on him for strike 1, then fastball middle in. And again, as a hitter, that's what you start thinking through. Pitch sequences. Pitchers don't usually double up, so one pitch sets up the next. And perfect 2 pitches to start this inning for Dylan Crooks.
Nasty. Bell down on strikes. Throw down. In time and on the mark. And 1 out. Well, after we're done, we got a fantastic matchup coming up next on the box. It's Arkansas and LSU. 4 Eastern, next matchup on the SEC Network. LSU making a statement with the way they're playing against the Hawks.
Yeah, 2 in a row from LSU in Baton Rouge. That series is always determined by who's got the home field. Last year, LSU went up to Fayetteville and got swept. 2 years ago, this series was in Baton Rouge. LSU had won 2 of 3. And so when we talked about home field advantage and hosting regionals or supers, that's what a difference it makes, because Arkansas is a really good team, and they're getting beat up in Baton Rouge this weekend.
Got one more weekend left in the SEC. They'll move on for the SEC tournament in Hoover. Single elimination. All 16 teams will be there. How much do you think the performance in Hoover will go into the selection committee deciding who gets in and how they're seeded?
I think those wins count. So when we start talking about the magic number 13, if you got 12 walking into the SEC tournament and you win a game, I think that matters in terms of getting in the field of 64. But in terms of making a deep run, to me, it's luck. I mean, it's a one-game do or die. The top 4 seeds have won that tournament every year because you get to save pitching. You know, when the other guys are in their 3rd and 4th guys, you're throwing your ace or whatever they choose to do. But ultimately, it's to get ready for the next weekend. But a single elimination in baseball where anybody can beat anybody, you don't take it that literally in terms of like really putting weight on it, but those wins do matter in the SEC.
You know, college baseball really holds form for most of the year. It's the 3-game series. You got your Friday, Saturday, Sunday guy. It starts getting a little different, though. You get into these conference tournaments, you make a run, and like you said, you got to figure out who's going to be the 4th, 5th starter, a midweek guy, and then someone else that maybe hasn't been in that role. So you'll do that in the conference tournament. If you fall behind in a regional, and then if you make a deep run in Omaha. Outside of that, though, it's really sticking to who are your best 3 arms.
Well, and imagine you got to make that decision on Tuesday. So if you're playing on Tuesday, if you're a 9 through 16 seed and you win, now you play again, you know, on Wednesday, then you win, and then you're going to Thursday. Well, then you got to make a decision. I got regionals next week. Am I going to blow everybody out this week, you know?
Yeah.
So you really see a lot of pitching changes, a lot of real thought process into the pitch counts of even the starters that usually can go longer. So it's a different tournament. That's why I say it's so difficult to win, because there's so much that goes into that tournament that you don't usually think about during the course of the year.
0-2 to Lawrence, down low, but Lawrence doesn't bite on it. Dylan Crooks got the strikeout against Tyler Bell. Lawrence has been a tough out. He's got a home run and a single. So a 4-hit weekend for the 2-hole hitter for these Wildcats. Up the middle, Kyle Branch. A little pat and throw over to first, and it's 2 down.
Crooks does the deal where he's closed off before he starts. And so those little things when you're looking out there as a hitter make a difference. They start making you predetermine what you're going to do. So when he's closed off that much, it makes it hard for me as a left-handed hitter to believe he can come across and throw it inside to me. So I immediately start looking out over the zone, looking to go to left field, but Crooks can do it. And so when you're thinking that way and then he burns you middle in with a left-handed hitter, you're a little surprised by it, you know. And so for right-handed hitters, I'm sure it's the same way. He's closed off, and so initially you think he's going to throw all inside, and so it speeds up your thought process, and then it makes all his off-speed work a little better. And that's why it's important to face guys like this more than once. I'm just talking about the first time you see him. Then the more you see him, the more you get more comfortable with how he starts out.
And that's why Skip Johnson is so comfortable with the lead late, because of what Crooks can do.
Correct.
Comes into the series with 6 saves in SEC play. Only Dylan Valantis with more. He's got 10.
The more hitter face a pitcher, the more it becomes the hitter's advantage, guaranteed. Because you get to see all that, you know, and you get more comfortable with the way they start, their tempo, their timing, the release point, what's going on, what they've got, and you've seen it before. So you're exactly right. That's why closers are closers. You only see them in the 9th at the big level. And in college, some of the better ones can last longer, but you're only going to see them one time. And when you do see Dylan Crooks for the first time, it's a little odd.
And that's the other intriguing thing about the postseason. When you use that guy that's typically at the end of games, we'll see a lot of coaches decide to use him early in games in high leverage situations, knowing that you've got to get out of this moment and you want your best arm to be that guy, because you may not have a lead late, to throw out a closer.
But then the other problem is now you're using him in a, 5-run. You're chasing 5 runs right now, and you got your best arm out of the pen in the game. You would have liked to have used him before that 3-run 4th inning by Kentucky,
Yeah.
but you're not going to do that because you want a guy like him at the back end. But again, it's where you put him, certain situations, and it's tough sometimes.
2-2 here to Cole Hage. Struck out his last time up. And look at that. Coach Minchione's
He didn't move either, did
Not
he?
even flinching.
What he tells his players, he does too. Don't move. We don't move. That ball goes right by him. Stood still.
No Evo shield either.
Good man.
Absolutely. He knows what he's doing with this Kentucky program. It's not accident. Pass Willis. 2-out knock for Hage.
Second hit for Hage. 3rd time on base. Got hit back in the 4th. And up by 5 with 2 outs. Kentucky rolls it over to their cleanup hitter, James McCoy.
James McCoy's been impressive to watch. It's not like the numbers absolutely blow you away, but just to see a guy that's selfless, hear his coach talk about him playing all the outfield positions, like third base, first base. He's been on the mound as well. Fantastic defense over at first base and swinging a hot bat right now as well.
That's kind of the personality that Nick Mingione likes to build here at Kentucky. Now, clearly you'd want Barry Bonds in the 4th spot.
Yeah.
But what he likes is for the 3 or 4 to be unselfish, like you talked about, be a defender, but the ability to bunt, to slash, to hit and run out of your 3 and 4, which generally is reserved for the guys that are just going to, let it loose and get after it. I don't have to worry about signs.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do some damage.
I'm playing my game.
Yeah. So, but these Kentucky offense, Devin Burks has never had great numbers, but he's a captain. He's one of the guys everybody looks up to in the dugout, like you said. He's hit 3 and 4 for him for that reason, because he can do just about anything. So you got to handle the bat, you got to play good defense offensively for Kentucky, and you got to be able to throw strikes, and that's pretty much how he's built it.
Runner is off. Hayes to second, air meld. He will end up on third base. Walk won't even attempt to throw. Non-stop pressure from Kentucky.
That's just Mudler trying to hurry it up. Crook's a little bit too long trying to get to home plate, and so off and running, and Mudler, who's been really good throwing out runners this year, just kind of speeds it up, and with the tail on it, gets away from him. 2
stolen bases, close to being a third. Was initially ruled he was safe on the first stolen base attempt. Review overturned that call. (3-1) now for James McCoy, looking for one to rip. Just get the job done. To the right side, ranging is Mason Hamlin, and the toss is there to Crooks. Kentucky try to wrap this one up, sweep the series next. As you see, the Wildcats trying to sweep in the SEC for the first time this season, and it's going to be up to Cole Henschel to close this one out.
Low 90s fastball from Henschel. Doesn't have a lot of innings this year, but has been really good. He carves up the right-handers, only given up 2 hits to right-hand hitters all year, believe it or not. Usually the lefty-lefty matchup is the power spot, but Henschel's been very good against right-handed hitting this year.
OU down to their final 3 outs. Been swept only once this season. That was against LSU. And we will see LSU and Arkansas in Game 3 coming up as soon as we are done here on SEC Network. That matchup will start on the app, and once we are done, we'll bring it to you live right here on SEC Network. Bottom of the lineup, it's Dawson Willis to lead off the inning. In there for a strike at 90.
Almost all fastballs, too, from Henschel, about 90%. Drop the changeup on the right-handers, some sliders to lefties, but mostly fastballs coming out of the hand of Henschel.
Check swing, did he go? Yes, he did, 0-2. Cole Henschel trying to keep Dawson Willis hitless in the series. He's 0 for 9. Chance on the right side. Ryan Schwartz runs out of room. And a souvenir while holding on to the sunflower seeds. Next level.
Gotta hold on to what's important.
One of the teams that Kentucky had on the field before the start of this game. So they had all the moms out as well, throwing out the first pitch together on this Mother's Day. Special touch for a program here at Kentucky that does it right. 0-2. Willis still fighting.
Freeze! Everybody clap your hands.
A response by Kentucky in the bottom of the 4th. really been the difference in this game. Sooners were able to tie the game at the top of that frame. But Kentucky answered and then some.
Well, this is what you want. Fastball guy in the ninth, up by 5. You don't mess around. Just keep pumping fastballs in there. It's going to be very difficult for Oklahoma to hit their way out of this deficit.
1-2 delivery from Henschel. And the battle continues. In the bottom of the fourth, it was a 2-run shot by Tyler Bell, followed by the solo shot from Luke Lawrence. It gave Kentucky the distance it was looking for. OU had opportunities, could not cash in. It's been a week in which they've hit the ball hard, but unfortunately for them, it's been typically to a Kentucky play. Center field long run for Hansen. It makes a catch. 1 down.
Huge weekend for Kentucky. We've already talked about this before. They had 10 wins coming in, and they really needed to play well. They only had 3 series wins all year long. This will be the 4th.
Griffin Cameron now playing center field, by the way. My apologies. Here's Jason Walk. That's in. And it's ball 1. Jason Walk with 3 hits today. Or excuse me, in the series. 1 of them today in his last at-bat. Tough go for him out in center field. Lost his footing on 1 play, led to extra bases. And they made the diving catch on another that was secured in his glove until his glove was ripped from his hand, and the ball still stayed in that glove for a couple of rotations until popping out. Has not been a clean defensive weekend for the OU outfield.
Well, but I think a lot of times in this day and age that we live in, like, he's only a sophomore, so he's still young. You know, that used to not be the case. You know, you were there 3 years and out 20 years ago, but now, you know, you got 5th, 6th, in some cases 7th-year seniors still playing college baseball. Nick McKay being one of them, 7 years. How about that?
Nick McKay got the start for Kentucky in game 2 yesterday. Oklahoma tagged him for 2 runs in the top of the first, but Kentucky was able to respond with 4 runs in the bottom of the first. 1-2 to Jason Walk. Outside, and it's 2-2. To left. Hage breaking in on it and makes a catch.
Well, Kentucky 1 out away from the sweep. They haven't done that all year long. And 3 huge wins for this program moving into the postseason after next week.
Oklahoma entered as a projected 2 seed in the conversation to host a regional. A sweep will certainly hurt those chances, not necessarily put them to rest, but it will be a long shot for Oklahoma. Still firmly in the tournament field. For Kentucky, playing just to get in. D1 baseball having them among the last 4 into the tournament field. And that was before getting wins in the first 2 games and closing in on this series sweep. A lot of talk that the magic number is 13 or 14 SEC wins to get you to the tournament. And this is win number 13 for the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky sweeps in the SEC for the first time this season, taking care of OU.
What a good weekend for Kentucky back at home. They go to Vanderbilt next weekend, but 13 wins, that's the magic number.
Is it enough? They certainly have the look of a tournament team here in Lexington, Kentucky. A sweep for the Wildcats. Coming up next, game 3.